The wind carried with it a low whistle across the plains, sweeping dust over the broken fences and creaking shutters of the old ranch house. The land stretched endlessly, golden grass bending beneath the sun, the far-off silhouettes of cattle trails long abandoned. To most people, this land looked like nothing more than a graveyard of broken dreams. But to Daniel Hayes, it looked like a chance. Daniel wasn't a drifter, though many assumed so. He was 33, a man whose life had been a series of stops and starts, never quite finding the anchor he needed. A mechanic by trade, he knew how to fix engines, mend fences, and work with his hands. What he didn't know was how to mend the emptiness that had followed him since his father's death 2 years ago. His hometown no longer felt like home, and everywhere he turned, there were memories he couldn't bear to face. Then came the news: an old ranch outside of Santa Fe was being offered up, free of charge, to anyone willing to take it over. No mortgage, no hidden strings, just a promise: whoever came could keep the land, so long as they cared for it. It sounded almost too good to be true, but Daniel didn't have much left to lose. With nothing but a worn-out truck, a handful of tools, and a few boxes of his father's old belongings, he made the drive out. The farther he went, the lonelier the road became. By the time he reached the weathered gate with its hanging sign that read, Hollow Creek Ranch, he felt as if he had crossed into another world. The house stood there, silent and leaning with age. Its windows were clouded with dust, and the barn beside it sagged under years of neglect. Daniel parked the truck, stepped out, and for the first time in months, took a deep breath that filled his lungs without the heaviness of grief. "This is it," he whispered. But as he walked the grounds, something strange stirred in him. It wasn't just the eerie stillness, or the way the house seemed to watch him with its hollow windows. It was the feeling that the land was holding its breath, waiting for someone to listen. The ranch's secrets. The first nights were the hardest. Daniel slept on the floor in a sleeping bag, listening to the ranch groan with the wind. The silence was deep, broken only by the occasional coyote howl in the distance. He spent his days clearing brush, fixing the front door, and trying to get the old water pump to work again. But one evening, while exploring the barn, he found something that made his heart skip. Tucked away beneath a pile of rotting hay was an old trunk. The lock had rusted off, and with one good shove, he managed to open it. Inside were photographs, black and white, yellowing with age. Families standing proudly in front of the ranch house. A father, a mother, and children holding hands. Daniel picked one up, brushing away the dust. The boy in the picture couldn't have been older than 10, his smile wide, his eyes filled with a spark of life. Beneath the photographs were letters, carefully folded and tied with ribbon. His hands trembled as he opened the first one. "Dear Mama, we're holding on as best we can. The cattle are gone, and the well is nearly dry. Papa says we'll keep trying, but I can see the worry in his eyes." Daniel read letter after letter, stories of struggle, resilience, and heartbreak. The family who had lived here had poured everything into this land, and yet something had forced them to abandon it. One night, unable to sleep, Daniel sat at the kitchen table with a lantern glowing dimly beside him. He read the last letter in the bundle. "If you're reading this, it means we couldn't hold on any longer. To whoever finds Hollow Creek, know that this land carries our blood, our tears, and our dreams. Take care of it, and it will take care of you." Daniel set the letter down slowly. For the first time since his father's death, he felt the faint stirrings of purpose. The first visitor. It was a week later, just as the sun dipped low in the horizon, when Daniel heard the sound of footsteps outside. His hand instinctively went to the old rifle hanging near the door. But when he stepped out, he saw not a threat, but a boy, barely 12, standing near the fence line. The boy's clothes were ragged, his shoes torn. He looked thin, his cheeks hollow, but his eyes were sharp. "You live here now?" the boy asked. Daniel nodded cautiously. "That's right. And who might you be?" "Name's Miguel," the boy said, shuffling his feet. "Me and my little sister, we been stayin' near the river. Mama works in town. We come out here sometimes, when we're hungry." Daniel's chest tightened. He could see the hunger in Miguel's eyes. He thought of the letters, of the family that had once fought to survive here. Slowly, he lowered the rifle and gestured toward the porch. "You hungry?" Miguel hesitated, then nodded. That night, Daniel cooked what little he had: beans, bread, and some canned meat. Miguel ate like he hadn't seen food in days. Before leaving, the boy whispered, "Thank you." Something about the way he said it stayed with Daniel long after he'd gone. Acts of kindness. Over the next few weeks, Miguel returned, sometimes with his little sister, Anna. She was no older than 7, with tangled hair and eyes that seemed far too sad for a child. Daniel began setting aside portions of food, quietly waiting for their visits. It wasn't charity, it was survival, for them and for him. The laughter Anna sometimes managed to bring to the porch filled the silence that had once haunted the house. One afternoon, Daniel asked, "Why don't you bring your mama out here?" Miguel shook his head. "She works all the time. Cleans houses. Don't want nobody knowing we're struggling. Says it's her burden to carry." Daniel understood. Pride was a heavy thing. His father had carried the same weight when the bills piled high, refusing help until the very end. And so Daniel gave what he could, a safe place to rest, a meal when he had enough, and the kind of presence that didn't demand anything in return. What he didn't know then was that his small acts of kindness were laying the foundation for something far greater than himself. The hidden room. One stormy night, as rain hammered against the roof, Daniel noticed a draft in the hallway. Following it, he discovered a loose panel in the floor. With some effort, he pried it open, revealing a narrow staircase leading downward. Lantern in hand, he descended into the darkness. What he found made him stagger. It was a hidden cellar, filled with old supplies, tools, preserved jars of food long spoiled, and shelves of ledgers. But in the corner was a wooden box, carefully sealed. Inside lay a stack of documents, the original deed to Hollow Creek Ranch, along with a journal. He opened the journal and began to read. The final entry sent chills through him. "We leave this place not by choice, but by necessity. Yet I believe one day someone will come, someone who needs this land as much as it needs them. If that person shows kindness, if they care for others as this soil has cared for us, then Hollow Creek will live again." Daniel closed the book with trembling hands. Somehow, it felt as though the ranch had chosen him.